the shit with Biden and his documents is a great example of this in a different context. What Biden did, like there's evidence that, of maybe not criminal misconduct, but that there was a law broken by the fact that he had classified documents in unsecure locations instead of, surrendering them to the National Archives. But the right is blowing this wildly out of proportion, suggesting there's a false equivalence between Biden and Trump. And very often, like even Pisco, we were having a conversation a couple of days ago before Destiny had to go. Even Destiny was calling Pisco out for rhetorically playing into the false equivalence, even though Pisco recognizes the distinction there. Like, you can say, hey, Joe Biden, you shouldn't have had classified documents in your garage near your Corvette. But also, Donald Trump is objectively worse in every single possible fucking way, and anyone who says otherwise is a piece of shit and a liar. You need to include that last part. You can spin it and phrase it however you want, but to just say, hey, Joe Biden, you shouldn't have had documents near your Corvette, period, you are playing into a false equivalence, in my opinion.
I think the Pisco example was a great one. Like the conversation that him...
A horrible example. What are you talking about?
Hold on, Pisco. Because I disagree with you vehemently. Like, for even making the tweet.
All right.
But actually, it's a good example.
For even making the tweet. You disagree
yes,
with me.
Yeah, because Pisco out
agrees with
a Trump supporter. Pisco, how long have you been Republican?
Are you shitting me? Do you know how much
hold on.
shit I've gotten
hold the memes.
for being a Dem shill?
Hold the memes.
Yeah, Pisco I'm sorry. No, I'm fucking with you. I'm sorry.
Pisco tweeting that tweet is a great example of shit the left does. Just by engaging in that way. I'm sorry. It's a great example of what the right does. Right. And by engaging that way, there's no reason to say that. Because at the end of the day, the proper narrative is, hey, something went wrong, it's being handled, and Biden's completely doing it a different way.
You're out of your mind. You're absolutely out of your mind. You need to combat the cope that was going on by so many left-wing tweeters on the space that were shitting on Garland, and we're trying to, like Ruminate is right now, trying to come to conclusions before the investigation has even ended. And right before the special counsel was even announced with Biden. You already know that the underlying stuff it's worse for Trump and better for Biden, even though the investigations are not over yet. That's an objective mind. That's a neutral mind. That's a fair mind that people are going to trust.
Well, some aspects of it are better, even no matter what the investigation says. Like the fact, hold on, that statement is true. Aren't you all about like, well, if it's true, you should say it if it's true. The fact that they're the ones that brought it up, the fact that they didn't need to get a subpoena first, the fact that they've made everything available and are cooperating 100%. That part, even if it comes out that Biden did worse, that part already is better.
No, that part everyone agrees, right? There's no obstruction-related parallel so far with the Biden-related stuff that you can compare to and say, hey, that was truly, apples to apples. But you can't then look at the underlying mishandling and say something like Destiny said, which is absolutely absurd, which is no one cared about the underlying mishandling. That's just bullshit. And Destiny said it with a straight face. Straight face to his audience.
When people, we'll play on Pisco. When people are comparing these two situations, they're not just talking about the mishandling of classified documents. They're talking about that plus how the situation has been handled after the fact. They're not separating them the way that you are. The reason that I'm able to say, well, I'll offer some margin for error. The reason I'm able to say that I am 99% confident that no matter what the outcome of the investigation is, Donald Trump's situation is objectively worse is precisely because of the obstruction element. I don't think you're a lawyer, you're an attorney, you separate these two things. But as far as the story is concerned and the public narrative, they're intertwined. Trump has more...
Okay, if you're talking about the public narrative, I'm sorry, I'm going to calm down.
Yeah,
I'm going to try to.
Don't do it.
If you're talking about the public narrative,
Republican rage.
How do I think I need to delete a little bit of
out of your mind if you are forgetting that for weeks you were hearing Trump is so dangerous that the fact that he was holding it in an unsecure place put our spies at risk, put our intelligence at risk. What is he going to do with the misinformation? He's selling nuclear secrets. So much of the public narrative was about the underlying mishandling aspect. And now, essentially what you guys are doing, you and Destiny, are saying, that part, it didn't really matter. We don't even need to analyze. We don't even need to analyze the similarities and differences on that matter because the only thing that we should care about is obstruction. Bullshit.
Okay, I can't speak for Destiny, but I'm sorry. Number one, I disagree. I think that people were saying that Trump was a threat for two reasons. Number one, because we knew at the time he was actively resisting attempts to turn the documents over to federal authorities, number one, which does look like either criminal intent. I mean, I don't know, you're the attorney here, but it certainly looks sus as fuck, number one. And number two, Trump's own history of corrupt an unethical behavior relative to Biden. So no, I think it's perfectly reasonable to say, hey, look, this guy had
preliminary. Hang on. Hey, well, I agree with you that there are aspects about the Trump investigation where, based on public reporting, we know more facts, that there's probably more documents in the Trump-related stuff, that there's probably that we know that there are efforts to obscure, or at least there appear to be efforts to obscure, which would be kind of like raise the question, why, right? Why would you try to obscure, right? And that kind of speaks to potentially motive. But that's partially by virtue of the fact that the investigation has matured longer than the Biden thing. We just learned about the Biden thing. And so, of course, we have more facts to populate things with respect to the Trump investigation because we just know more stuff about the Trump investigation.
Right. And then obviously if the facts change, then so too will our conclusions. Like if it comes out
you already, when I make a tweet, something like, based on the facts that we know, just on the underlying mishandling of the classified information, based on what we know to be true at the moment, they seem in material respects extremely similar. You have a problem with me tweeting that.
Wait, hold. They're not even materially similar. What materially similar on what grounds?
Can you clarify that?
Wait. Yeah. Okay, are you gonna play this game, Destin? You're gonna pretend that the underlying mishandling aspects are not similar.
Wait, stop. What does mens rea mean?
Intent, level of intent.
Okay, is there a difference between somebody having boxes of, do you think there might be a different mens rea between somebody having boxes of classified documents that are stored in a special room in their house versus somebody that might have a few classified documents mixed in with other material?
What's the intent? Sorry. Are you talking about a corrupt motive, or are you talking about intent with respect to the underlying action, which is the mishandling?
I'm talking about the corrupt motive to mishandle. You don't think that's material to some people? You don't think people care about that?
Why you are going to mishandle a document in terms of for motivation purposes, right? I'm doing this in order to sell secrets to sell nuclear secrets. I'm doing this in order to X. That's a motive, right? Motive is not necessarily, it will inform our decision about whether or not to prosecute this person, to punish them harshly, to crucify them in the media. But if you're talking about intent, right? Mens rea with respect to the mishandling, right? We know the facts, right? We know that Biden's residence is an unsecure location. That's the DOJ saying that, correct or incorrect?
Correct.
We know that the documents are there, right? And that someone put them there. And that if Biden put them there, right, he is intentionally handling them in a place where it's not authorized to be, regardless of his later motive.
No, hold on. Part of that's not 100% true. You have to have the intention of retaining those documents in an unauthorized manner.
Well, yeah, because wait a minute, because Pisco, we know for a fact.
No, don't bail him out. Make him answer that.
No. I am not interested in being bailed out. You're an idiot right now.
Okay, explain this to me, okay?
Let me explain it.
Yeah, go ahead. Wait, let me read this first so the audience can know, and then you can explain from here. Okay? It's when somebody knowingly removes such documents or materials without authority and with the intent to retain such documents or materials at an unauthorized location, and they shall be fined under this title. Yeah.
So let's go with this. If President Biden, and we're assuming for the purpose of this, we're putting to the side the declassification arguments, both on the side of the Democrats and on the side of Trump.
Just get to the point. Go.
Okay, so we're only interested right now, because you're going to get a bunch of people in the comments saying, well, Trump had declassification authority, and Biden, in this executive order.
That's not what we're talking about. Go on to we're talking about the similarities between the two.
I'm prefacing. Okay. If Biden takes classified materials that he knows to be top secret materials and intentionally places them in an unsecure place, is that at least a facial violation of that law? Yes or no?
Yes, but look at what the difference is.
Okay, so then wait.
We don't know that it doesn't seem like he knowingly did it. We don't have any reason to believe that right now. We had much stronger reason to believe it with Trump. Oh my God. Okay, go ahead.
Trump actively ordered it, by the way. Just FYI.
No, I don't care. That doesn't matter. Don't bail him out. Make him answer this. I'm sorry. I keep telling you. No, go ahead. Yeah. I don't know. I don't understand on any good faith. You have one guy that has boxes of all classified materials stored in a locked room in an area. Seems like he knows what he has. Seems like he's taking an effort to restrain them in an area that he does not have authorization to do. And then you've got another guy who, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on the facts, but my understanding was that lawyers were clearing out a closet and they noticed mixed in with other documents, it seemed like there was some classified material.
So were Biden's.
No. I'm just talking about Biden's. That's what I was talking about. For Trump's stuff, he knew he had classified documents. He had stored them in a specific area with other classified stuff. With Biden shit, it was mixed in with his other shit.
The fact of it being, first of all, I believe Biden's were also mixed in with other stuff in his in his garage.
No,
and so
Biden's was
I don't
mixed
know to
in.
what
I
extent
think Trump's was like specifically in boxes that were stored.
We're doing
in
this step by step. You're saying one
Okay.
way to distinguish is on the level of intent. Well, the intent is the aspect of mishandling and of putting it intentionally in a place where it's not supposed to be. And so,
Did
right,
Biden
so
do that?
The investigation on with respect to that intent level that's going to be critical, right? Who put these documents there, and who had the intention to place them there, right?
Sure.
Wait, let me get this out.
Okay,
One of the reasons why, let's bring it back to the Clinton classification stuff to get you a sense of why Clinton
Why not just
wasn't...
we don't have to do analogy and a million examples.
No, we have to. Just for a moment, we have to. Clinton wasn't charged. One of the reasons why the FBI declined to prosecute was because they could not prove that Clinton knew that on her private server there was classified information. There were like 3 C's, right? And the question was whether or not those C's would indicate to a reasonable person that they had knowledge of classified information. If Biden was aware of the fact that there was classified information in his residence and either ordered people to put it there, or we have some constructive knowledge in the part that it's like his house or something, or his garage, then that's something that was missing, right? In the Clinton case, that these things have the classification markings, and right. So, if Biden was aware of their presence, then presumably that aspect is there where it wasn't there in the Clinton case. That's the intent.
I don't know why we're talking about the Clinton case right now. I have no idea what the fuck we're talking about right now. Right.
The point is to show you, right? The intent is not with respect to doing something bad with it. It's the intent to specifically mishandle. Not
I don't know why you just used a whole ass analogy to restate what I read you out of the statute. You just restated exactly what I said. I can read it again if you want. I don't know why you needed 2 minutes to give an example of that. It was
like a minute, and it was to highlight the importance and what we mean by intent, and our knowledge of there being classified information, right, will be significant evidence that we intentionally mishandle that information.
Yeah.
And so if Biden was aware, right, so if something's in your garage, right, at least prima facie, there's a good reason we know stuff that's in our garage.
It depends. I think that's part of the case. I think that's part of the fact of the matter. If somebody tells me that like somebody had a box locked in a room that had a bunch of classified material in it, I imagine prima facie that's going to look a lot differently than somebody had a folder sitting in their car seat that had like 50 pages of random shit in it, and one of the pages had classified information. Yes or no?
It could, right? It could.
But it seems it could. But it seems on its face, it is materially different.
Level, right? Sorry, I'm going to slow down. Just to be clear, the investigations are not over. We actually don't know whether or not the Biden mishandling stuff is worse or better.
That's fine,
yet
but you can't appeal to prima facie when prima facie doesn't support you here.
But it does. It does support the position of saying, on the face of it, based on what we know so far, these cases are extremely similar. It does support that.
No, it doesn't. Hold on.
It does.
Okay, I just want to say 2 scenarios that are the 2 scenarios, and then I want to hear you say that these on the first impression it seems like these are the same thing. Okay, one guy has a box or folders, I think, with a bunch of papers. Some of them apparently seem to be marked as classified. Another guy has a whole bunch of boxes with a ton of classified material that's stored in a locked room in the basement of his fucking resort. Prima facie, these 2 things seem to be similar?
Yes.
Having boxes of shit ordered removed from some place that is all classified, put into a locked room is way different than holy shit. In this guy's garage next to his car, we found a bunch of shit mixed together.
Let's go every point of similarity. They're both in locked places, right?
No, not meaningfully the same. I don't think so.
Why is the locked place next to Biden's car better than the locked place in Mar-a-Lago?
Because Mar-a-Lago, Mar-a-Lago is a public resort, but 2, my understanding is it was in a special like room for storage documents that was under like lock and key and had security cameras. Like the level.
I think that was the first.
Why is that relevant to violations of the statute?
Because it seems like that's being moved into an area where there's more intentionality. You know what you have, you know what you're keeping, you know where you're putting it. Whereas in the Biden shit, it's just shit in his garage.
So again, this is all evidence that gets to your intent of awareness of the classified documents. The only thing that matters, right?
Yeah, that's what I was arguing. But the intent is important because the intent is part of the statute.
The intent to mishandle and retain in a particular place. So you need to do that intentionally. If Biden's awareness of the fact of there being classified information is enough, right? And
I don't disagree with you. I already said that if it came out that like Biden was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take this classified shit home with me, whatever.
Okay, but if that's all it takes, if that's all it takes, right? you better hold your horses and not say, as many like commentators are saying, oh, it's totally different, the mishandling aspect of Trump and Biden. Okay. We don't know that yet. We actually don't know that yet. And the why are you exasperated?
Right, because materially they're not the same. It could be that they end up being upon further investigation. That's possible. But even if that was the case, like it's already like materially different from one to the other. The fact that Trump needed a fucking raid from the FBI, the fact that they didn't respond well to subpoenas, the fact that Trump ordered those documents. Now maybe
Biden
talk
about obstruction stuff.
Okay.
Why? Wait, don't run away. Why are you running away?
What did I run away? I just gave you like 4 different fucking things. What do you mean I'm running away?
If there was a singular memo from a Biden staffer that was in the public record that said, Biden ordered me to put this material into the garage. Between the two cases, Trump and Biden, which one would you say is better? Which one would you say is worse?
Trump's would still be worse, but Biden's would be a lot worse than it is right now. On the underlying I don't know how like autistically quibbling, like you want to get into that. I'm not sure. Like you're asking me like if somebody pushes a knife forward into the air, does it matter if a person is in front of them or not? I'm only talking about the knife pushing part. Like I don't know. Like in terms of the just the statute on the mishandling, if both of them are intentionally removing classified materials with the intent to store them for a future date, then I guess in that part it would be similar or the same.
Right. So like at this point in the investigation, right, when we're relying on reports, filings or reports from, personally, I'm much more sure that in terms of my personal, like, I don't know, what I suspect to be the case, that Trump's was more malicious than Biden's, because I like Biden more than Trump. But based on what we know to be true as of this moment with respect to the underlying mishandling aspect to it, I have no idea why we would try to distinguish the underlying mishandling at this stage in the investigation when every week it seems like we're getting new updates, or at least every few days, on the Biden case. There could be something new that comes out tomorrow.
The day this came out, the day you made your tweet, they had found more classified documents. What, that day, like the day before, I think it was, maybe 2 days before? That gives us every reason to believe that Biden is cooperating. And probably when those first documents were found, was like, okay, cool, we need to go through some shit. See if there's anything else.
Also, keep in mind, it was Biden's team that alerted Congress that those documents were there. I don't think the National Archives even knew those things were missing.
They didn't.
Which is materially different in Trump's case as well. But maybe that doesn't affect the...
I think that the way the administration is handling it is laudable. I think the way that Biden is responding to it and cooperating, I think that that's all fine. But you have people who are now...
Can I ask you a question on because you keep saying you don't want to talk about the obstruction. Do you think if the obstruction charge was missing here, do you think Trump would be being charged right now? Let's say that the FBI under their first subpoena were like, hey, you've got classified documents, and Trump's like, oh shit. And then they come to Mar-a-Lago and they take everything. Do you think he would be being charged right now? That there'd be like a special counsel and all that shit?
He hasn't been charged. No, I think that there would be an investigation still, yes. I don't know why you're on this side of the fence, Stephen. Just shut up, right? Just shut up. On the face of it, things look extremely similar on the underlying mishandling aspect until we get some final...
The right isn't shutting up about it, Pisco. So wait a minute. You want the right to be able to weaponize this and get no pushback from the left. Just needs to be quiet. Well, guys, we don't have...
you need to be honest. Hang on. You need to be honest and not look like a shill, which is what you look like when you say shit like, oh, the special counsels are all tilted against Democrats historically. You look like a fool when you say that.
You realize that arguably, like Comey cost Hillary Clinton the election, right? You can't say that it's just a shill thing to say that. That like Comey could have been the one tipping point that made Hillary Clinton lose. I think it's a fair criticism to have.
So but he said special counsels have historically been tilted against Democrats.
No, I said there's an Pisco.
There's an asymmetry. What's the asymmetry? The asymmetry is what? That all the appointed DOJ people have been Republicans?
Yeah.
First of all, I don't just assume just because someone is affiliated with a particular party that they're there. That's the Trump way of looking things. That's the Democrat judges, Obama judges, Bush judges. That's that bullshit.
What about conservative Supreme Court justices?
Wait a minute.
When you're talking about purely like, okay, listen. When you're talking about matters like substitute process and shit, obviously you're going to and the judiciary. I think that you can reasonably be like mad at one particular side for appointing or one particular philosophy, but I don't say things like the Supreme Court justice, like I don't know, Clarence Thomas is corrupt. I don't say things that just because, or like Chief Justice Roberts is corrupt.
Pisco,
just because you disagree. I want to get this out. Just because you disagree politically, or even judicially, philosophically, and you want to see more of your people in, doesn't mean that those people are acting corruptly.
Pisco, no, okay, here's the thing. Every legal commentary that you'll find on this, I'm confident, even from former U.S. attorneys, regardless, like irrespective of who appointed them, I guarantee you that they would say Garland chose Republican Trump appointees to investigate for a reason. Do you think it was sheer coincidence, or do you think the fact that they were Republican Trump appointees factored into his decision to look into his boss?
Wait, the fact that they were Trump appointees, which the people who were assigned to this particular investigation.
Yeah. Let's use that as an example.
Okay.
Yeah.
The fact that Merrick Garland assigned, or that they were Trump appointees, factored into their appointment to this matter. Is that what you're saying?
I'm asking you.
Do you have evidence of that?
I'm saying I'm not a mind.
You know what
reader,
I do have evidence for, and let's see how you feel about this. Yeah. How do you feel about this? That for the FBI investigation, Crossfire Hurricane, that led into the special counsel investigation, we have evidence of some of the head people in charge there, specifically Agent Strzok and others, exhibiting an anti-Trump bias. I'm a Democrat, by the way. I'm saying this. That is certifiably true, right? Not necessarily that any action taken by these individuals, corruptly influence the Crossfire Hurricane investigation or the West investigation. I'm not saying that. But there is specific evidence of political bias with respect to those individuals. Yeah, and if you talk to any Republican right now and say, hey, you guys are actually lucky. The FBI and the DOJ, they're pro you guys. Do you think they're going to believe you? Do you think that's been their perception?
Well, wait a minute. I'm not arguing that, number one, that they would believe me, or number two, that there would be the perception there. Number three, when the Strzok and Page situation blew up, what happened? They were taken off the investigation. There was an Inspector General investigation into their work, and he was fired from the FBI. So that perception was punished, even though there was no evidence that his biases impacted the work at all. Okay, so I don't think that supports your point. But wait a minute.
You have a problem with Trump. You have a problem with these Trump appointees. You have a problem with the Trump appointees doing this investigation. You think they should be Biden appointees?
No, I'm saying that there's an asymmetry there. I have no reason to believe that they would necessarily do their jobs the wrong way, or that they're corrupt, right? I didn't think that about Robert. What I'm saying is, though, and this was in my tweet, Democrats are held and hold themselves to higher standards. And so when you ask me, is there any proof that Merrick Garland, specifically chose these guys for a reason? I think it's rather strange, given the entire available the widespread world of the legal profession and the Department of Justice, the people he could have tapped. He didn't pick a Clinton appointee. He didn't pick an Obama appointee. He's only picked Trump appointees to investigate Democrats like Hunter Biden or Joe Biden or whoever. And I would also, because I've listened to a lot of this commentary. Now, I'm not an attorney. You are. But you have Glenn Kirshner, Barb McQuaid, former U.S. attorneys, people who worked in this capacity. They say there's a reason Garland picked these people, that he has cherry-picked Trump-appointed Republicans. And we all know what it is. You know what it is. It's to avoid any semblance of impropriety. These aren't just random selections that he made. He deliberately chose Trump appointees to investigate, to start this process, to try to head off accusations of political bias. Imagine how pissed off... Go ahead.
Do you think he acted improperly? Assuming he did that, right? You think he acted improperly?
I don't think it's improper. I just think it's evidence of an asymmetry where Garland did that, but Bill Barr never did. Bill Barr, you think that Robert Mueller, you're kind of doing this. I think it's this false equivalence. I guess equivocation with the word Republican, where Republican is meaning both Trump supporters and like Bush appointees like Mueller. Right, so Mueller is an outgrowth of the Bush era, Republican, if you can call him that. He was no friend, and I promise you that people perceived Mueller to be, from the Trump perspective, highly aggressive. And you're saying, well, because he's a Republican, that was unfair. I said
but the interests of the Republicans and the DOJ are not aligned with Trump.
Well, first off, I never said that it was. I said that there is an asymmetry, and there is, because yes, a Republican is. Do you think a Republican is more or less likely just on average, probabilistically, to give a favorable verdict to Trump or disfavorable?
I have no idea.
Okay, well then, yeah, we can't have a conversation about this.
Wait. So you think that a Republican appointee, all else equal, would they have the same likelihood or higher likelihood to come to a charging decision against Trump, all else equal? I guess, is that your question?
I think that a Republican is more likely to be biased in favor of a Republican president during an investigation than not. And I think it says something that Republicans have appointed Republicans to investigate other Republicans or Democrats. And it seems here lately with this Democratic Attorney General, it's appointing Republicans to investigate Democrats.
But you have a problem with the appointment of the special, the timeliness of the appointment of the special counsel.
Well, that's a separate issue.
That's bullshit.
There are two asymmetries. Now you're moving on to another one.
Listen. On the composition of the DOJ officials, I don't think that these DOJ people are motivated by the things that you think they're motivated by. Prosecutors are motivated, I think, to be prosecutors, to prosecute. And if you think that just because, like, look at the SDNY for a long time, that under Trump, with the Trump appointees, continued to investigate Trump's misconduct. I don't think that these DOJ appointees are motivated by things that you think they are. And so I do not concede that just because you have a Trump appointee, they're somehow getting a more, a worse result. I think that these... I don't even think that's DOJ, necessarily... I believe in the... Guess what? By and large, I believe in the good people of the DOJ. You seem to not. You think all the Trump appointees or the Trump-related people, all the Republicans in the DOJ, they're all stooges. You can't trust them. And so you would have a problem no matter what.
Rob Knorr, get away from Pisco's mic. Rob Knorr, get away. Pisco, come back. Come back, buddy. That was a hell of a straw man. I don't think that. I'm saying that there's an asymmetry, and you're saying that there's not one. But I just illustrated it. Republicans appoint Republicans to investigate Republicans or Democrats. Democrats appoint Republicans to investigate Republicans or Democrats. That's an asymmetry. Now, you might want to argue, well, listen, I just don't think that it'll amount to any sort of substantive difference. And you might be right. You might be completely correct, but it is an asymmetry that I think is worth noting. And I think it also says something that people who are in this business, again, like Glenn Kirshner, Barb McQuaid, whoever, former U.S. attorneys, all the various attorneys, people who passed the bar, studied like you, worked in the Department of Justice, I guarantee you will not find any legal commentary on CNN, MSNBC, even Fox News to the contrary. I think they would all say there's a reason Garland chose these people who are Trump appointees. I think he did it for a reason, and that is to try to avoid the semblance of impropriety. Because if it were just an agnostic
composition, first of all, do you think this matters? Like, big time, the composition of these prosecutors in terms of, okay, we have some Republicans who are investigating Trump. By the way, Loretta Lynch was in charge of the DOJ when the declination decision. I know that ultimately Comey did the investigation over Hillary, but Loretta Lynch was in charge of the DOJ when the declination decision was made by the DOJ pursuant to Comey's recommendation. So just to be clear, there are Democrats in charge of the DOJ when Democrats are being investigated. Regardless, do you really think that this composition issue shows what? Shows it has anything to do with the character of these two incidents between Trump and Biden, number one, or number two, that there's any impropriety to what Merrick Garland is doing? Maybe it's a smart thing what Merrick Garland is doing.
I didn't say. That. See, that's where I'm just blown.
Argument for 2 seconds. What Ruminade's is trying to say is that Democrats try to maintain an air of impropriety, or try to maintain at least this presence of, like, look, we're being fair, and Republicans don't care. That Democrats are like, look, we'll give you a fucking Republican prosecutor. Look, we'll give you fucking Republican special counsel. We'll do this. And Republicans are like, okay, that's cool. Well, we're going to nominate 3, like, some pretty far right, like, judges. We're going to do everything we can to obstruct everything we fucking can. We're going to, like, put our own people wherever the fuck we can. We want our federal, like, that's the difference, I think.
Yeah, and basically that's where I
don't think the appointments of the judiciary have anything to do with what we're talking about here. If you do, I mean, Biden is appointing at a record clip Democratic-related judges and people who believe in, non-originalist judicial philosophies. And so I have no idea what you're talking about with respect to the judiciary. I think you should drop it.
Well, again, I think he's referring to, like, Supreme Court justices, for example. Like Garland, for example, was Obama's offer to replace Scalia, and Garland was widely considered to be a respective centrist. You know
exactly why Obama did that. And Obama also nominated Sotomayor when he had the Senate. And he also nominated Kagan. And you know exactly why he nominated Garland. different situations in those cases. Why you would nominate Garland? In the end, it didn't matter.
Well, it did matter because the three that Trump offered are relatively, they're not centrist. Amy Coney Barrett, my understanding, and again, I'm not an attorney, you are, but my understanding.
Wait, to be honest with you, do you think Obama would have nominated a centrist if he had the votes to nominate whoever he wanted?
I have no idea.
I think, yeah, it wasn't there generally a goal to try to nominate like moderate people from like both ends? If Obama was given like 3 justices to nominate, would he have? Are you saying that he would have nominated ones that shared the characteristics as far left on the political spectrum as Trump did as far right?
If you consider, I don't know, Justice Gorsuch and Justice,
I think it was the Amy girl and the Barrett and the,
to be on the right side of like the spectrum in terms of your judicial philosophy, excluding the, Thomas and Alito, who I think are more conservative. Just to be clear, I do think Alito and Thomas are more conservative than Justices Gorsuch and Barrett. Just to be clear on that. Do I think that Obama, I would put Sotomayor and Kagan on the left side of that, on like the equal and opposite, so to speak. And do I think that if...
Oh my God, it just killed me. I pushed R and it was holding down shift. I hate synergy. Hold on.
We lose you, buddy?
Sorry, I just got so mad I just slammed my keyboard. Go ahead.
I think Obama would have kept on doing that. And so, I don't even know, this isn't relevant. Your claiming of a double standard had to do with the appointment of a special counsel. You can say the composition, okay, fine, the DOJ officials, Democrats try to make some semblance, assuming you're correct on this, that when they're picking their prosecutors for these extremely sensitive investigations, they pick ones that are above reproach. So,
right, and if it were simply about
our standards, should we be? Is that what you want? You want us to lower our standards? You want us to be shills? You want us to be like Trump? Be like them?
Pisco, I think at the bare minimum, we should constantly point out that we operate at higher standards, whether or not we should adhere to them anyway. Because I don't think that Garland did the wrong thing by appointing a special counsel. My thing is, I think it's important for Democrats to point out asymmetries where they exist and also kind of brag and flex about it. Like, we're so much better than these people that we even we go out of our way to avoid any semblance of impropriety wherever possible. That's how the kind of bones that we throw to the opposition. They don't give a shit. I mean, Jesus, Republicans were complaining that Garland didn't appoint a special counsel. Like, you had Jim Jordan, you had Matt Gaetz, Dan Crenshaw, everybody. Where's the special counsel? Where's the special counsel? He appoints a special counsel? And none of them were like...
people were upset, and left-wing people were upset that he did appoint a special counsel. Left-wing people were upset that, with respect to Trump, that Merrick Garland appointed a special counsel. They said,
with respect to Trump?
Yes.
They were upset he appointed a special counsel?
Left-wing people, yes. They were like, Merrick Garland...
Oh, because they thought he was basically the investigation they feared was going to start over with Jack Smith. But I think everyone on the left has been really happy with Jack Smith because he's basically hit the ground running.
No, at the time, they said that Merrick Garland is spineless. He wants to lay off the prosecutorial decision. He doesn't have the guts to do it. I can show you the tweets if you want to deny their existence. But they exist. And now you are mad. You were upset, weren't you, that he took so long in appointing a special counsel? You're upset about that.
I was noting the asymmetry in terms of the length of time and the composition. There is. There's 100%
How is there? Just because you counted the number of days between when Nara sent a letter asking for the documents and when ultimately a special counsel was appointed, that is your proof that there's asymmetry. Not keeping in mind the reason why a special counsel was needed in the first place with Trump at all, which arose 2 days before he was appointed, when he announced to president.
Garland wasn't compelled to appoint a special counsel. I don't know what you mean by needed. There's nothing in as far as, again, you're the attorney, but I'm pretty sure this is the case, that there's nothing in the...
Not needed as in absolutely by law was required.
Correct. He made a decision. And there again, Pisco, again, I can only regurgitate what other accomplished attorneys have said, because we can't go toe to toe in just our knowledge of the law. You have me trumped there. But what other career prosecutors, former U.S. attorneys, legal analysts have said is that Garland accommodated, like he bent over backwards, and the Justice Department bent over backwards to accommodate Donald Trump throughout this entire process. And I do believe that, and I think you believe that as well. I don't think the same can be said.
Special counsel, are you gonna dodge around that, or are you gonna
say what?
I'm like a dog with a bone, ruminate. We're talking about the temporal asymmetry that you're noticing.
Yes, and what part of bending over back did Garland was. So you just said that Garland was not bound by law to appoint a special counsel.
I'm not talking about bound. This is all discretion, right? It's discretion.
Right, and he chose and he delayed the exercise in his discretion until I think the last possible moment.
What was wrong about? Hang on. Should he have appointed a special counsel before Trump announced for president?
I don't know. I mean, I think that he would have had the basis to do so. I don't know. I think.
Agree?
Well, wait.
This,
he probably.
Wait, hang on a second. You should know this. If the answer is he shouldn't have appointed a special counsel before he did, then you can have no problem with him not appointing a special counsel before he did, right? You have to, in order for you to be mad that he waited so long, you have to believe he should have appointed sooner. Otherwise, what you're saying makes no sense.
No, I don't. Listen, I don't have an issue with him appointing. I never had an issue with him appointing a special counsel for Trump in the first place.
Should he have appointed a special counsel sooner than he did?
I think that it was an absolute arbitrary distinction by that point. I don't think. Let me put you like this. I don't think Trump announced saying that he was going to run for office in 2024, making that official announcement. I don't think that was any sort of tipping point. To me, that was not materially relevant. I think that there was a public interest. I think the basis for appointing a special counsel, which is overwhelming public interest, I think that was there before Trump announced that he was running in 2024.
So he should he have appointed sooner?
I'm not saying that he should have appointed one in the first place, so your question's a non-starter.
Should he have appointed a special counsel?
I
have an opinion on that. I think he should have appointed a special counsel.
I don't know. I'm open to persuade, because I'm also sympathetic to the idea, which he said on both situations, that the Department of Justice had the ethics to, or had like the discipline and the ethics to investigate this internally, both with Biden and Trump.
What you're realizing, though, and what I think that is important, is it's not just about the actual ability to get rid of bias, it's also the appearance of bias.
Sure.
And so I think it matters that you have a bunch of this country that doesn't buy into the DOJ. That you have right now, the House Republicans are pushing forward a church-style committee to investigate the abuse of the DOJ as they perceive it. And so I actually think it's responsible for the DOJ and the Attorney General to be stewards of the institution that they run, and to not put it in peril, and to do everything to cross their T's and dot their I's. We are talking about a former president of the United States. We have never prosecuted a former president of the United States. Sure. You don't think it's important for the DOJ to look like it's giving him the fairest shot?
There's no issue. Yeah, there's no issue with defending the institutions. It just sucks when you're the only one that seems to care about doing it.
Right. Pisco, I think you've made an eloquent case as to why the asymmetry that I think exists, and I think Destiny thinks exists too, but I don't want to speak for him. You just justified why it exists. To me, it's proof that Garland cares about a semblance of impropriety and essentially, I don't want to say stacking the deck for Republicans, but basically bending over backwards to accommodate Donald Trump in a way that I don't think he has done or would do for President Biden, because he wants to disarm people, or do the best he possibly can to disarm the public perception of bias. I think that's why that asymmetry exists.
Properly, or has he acted properly?
I don't think he's acted improperly. No.
You don't have any opinion about whether he should appoint a special counsel?
I said I don't think he's acted improperly. I think that within his, I don't
do
think that he.
Do you have an opinion about positive or negative, or are you indifferent to his appointment of the special counsel?
I'm genuinely conflicted. I'm genuinely conflicted, especially with Biden. With Trump, I understand why he did it. With Biden, I kind of go back and forth.
Biden, you're unsure about why he appointed a special counsel?
Yeah. No, because I think the argument could go either way. I'm still torn on that. I understand why he would. I understand why that he would appoint a special counsel to try to avoid that semblance of impropriety. But I almost wonder if appointing a special counsel for Biden, if it's taking that asymmetry even further, when again we know, or at least based on the reporting, and there's no contradiction to the contrary, that it was Biden's team which alerted the National Archives and the Department of Justice, and they've been compliant all the way through. So I go back and forth.
Bill Barr was in charge of actually in charge of the prosecutorial or declination decisions or the report that comes, whatever you want to say in terms of the DOJ policy, because I know the LLC right now says that you're not supposed to indict a sitting president. But how would you feel if Bill Barr, rather than Mueller, was and instead of the Mueller report, it was the Barr report? How would you feel about it?
It basically was, because didn't he poisoned the well with his...
It was not the Barr report.
No, not in terms of the... No, wait. Let me clarify. I'm sorry. In terms of how it was handled, because Mueller punted on a prosecution decision, and before Barr released the report, or even the redacted report, he released like a one-page summary to poison the well, in addition to opting out of prosecuting Trump.
You want that guy in charge, and you would be okay with that guy in charge of the actual investigation? Answer no. Answer no. And I don't think that you would be I think it's fair for us to say, regardless of I think Merrick Garland's probably a better person and more honorable than Bill Barr, but I think it's fair for us
right, Pisco. I'm evaluating two different people with two different records very differently. Biden and Trump. I'm giving Biden more of the benefit of the doubt than Trump, and they're just like Destiny is, and there's perfectly good reason to do so. And the same thing with Garland versus Trump. So you asking me, well, you wouldn't, oh my God, would you support Bill Barr? Yeah, of course not, because I think that there is more evidence that Bill Barr is a biased, corrupt fuck than Merrick Garland is. And I think you would agree with that as well. So of course, I would probably give you a different, answer to the question of a counterfactual.
Of course we think that we're Democrats. But
right.
Wait, hold on. Do you believe that in terms of corruption and all of that, the only difference is political party?
That was your whole premise. That was Ruminate's whole premise in analyzing the asymmetry and the composition of the prosecutors who are investigating the critical cases. His whole point was party affiliation, and that's the end of my line in terms of the asymmetry. And if you are now questioning that assumption, then you're questioning Ruminate's entire premise with respect to the previous part of the conversation. But I didn't hear you make a peep during that.
I'm just asking. I'm building my factory, okay? I don't think that people act improperly. I think we saw that with the Trump stuff and the election challengers. I don't think that just because it's a Republican judge that they're going to be a hack shill.
Right.
It seems like when it comes to the judiciary. Good job. You stole it from my stream, okay? All points come from Destiny. But no, I don't believe that to be the case. However, I can empathize with the frustration that we have to act so cocked to avoid appearances of impropriety with the way that we conduct ourselves, such that people like Peter Strzok are getting kicked out of the FBI. Meanwhile, you've got the fucking Hillary Clinton Benghazi probe and the Hillary Clinton email probe and all this fucking shit. And then you've got people like Comey coming out and nuking her fucking presidential run from orbit in a totally unprecedented statement. I can understand the feeling of frustration. Like, oh, well, we need to be right, and we need to appear to be proper, while the majority of the Republican Party still supports a guy who's making phone calls to states to rouse up fucking votes to win an election after failing to beg his vice president to cancel the vote. I can feel the frustration there.
Pisco, it sounds like through this whole thing, it's just an exercise in that you do not believe that Ruminate should have made any comment whatsoever, when I think that his point is completely valid to point out and recognize. I don't see it's not causing harm. It's not going to...
Let me get the clarity, because I know there might be some confusion. I think, with respect to the obstruction-related stuff, I'm okay with people saying, this is a lot different than what Trump's doing. It's a lot worse. And I'm okay with both Destiny and Ruminate doing that. On the underlying mishandling aspect to it, there is, some evidence that we might have greater evidence for Trump's knowledge of the classified information because there were more documents, because they were interspersed with his things, because Trump has made statements like, I declassified them, that would seem to suggest knowledge of the underlying documents. I agree, right? I totally agree that currently the evidence that's been reported in public areas, you can say that, right? That exists for Trump and not for Biden currently. But we do not yet have enough information. The investigations are not over with respect to the mishandling aspect, or indeed the obstruction stuff, but there's not even an inquiry.
Yeah, I think we all agree with that. But right now, based on what we know now, there's nothing to point to the fact that both were similar.
You're making yourself, you're putting yourself in a bad position. If you right now are trying to distinguish the mishandling aspect before the investigations are concluded, there could be some stuff, and there could be more caches of documents that they found.
Yeah, there could be. So you're careful with your language. Right now, they don't appear to be similar at all. It could be the case that there's some evidence that comes out.
But this handling appears to be similar, right?
No, we didn't agree on that, and we're never going to agree on that. But
it appeared pretty quickly. No, again, by the time you made that tweet, it seemed pretty, from everything that was being reported, pretty quickly similar. Sorry, I had like a moment.
It
was pretty quickly clear that the situation was different.
Okay, the situation, if you're including the obstruction elements, obviously is different. If you're just talking about mishandling, which I think you should talk about.
Just about the mishandling, they appear fundamentally different.
Okay, so let's talk about that. The only difference, I think, is the amount of evidence thus far that has developed that speaks to Trump's intent with respect to the knowledge of the classified information there and his desire to keep them there. Maybe there's more evidence with respect to Trump on that so far, but that's only natural because the investigation,
And you agree with what we're saying, yeah.
No one here is precluding the possibility
we're all
that
saying
additional
that's
facts will change.
According to the evidence thus far, they appear to be vastly different.
No. What you're saying, one investigation is more developed, and we have more information that could pertain to his
But we knew that Trump was, being an obstructionist when it came to this, and that Biden was cooperating.
No one's talking about that element yet. We're talking just about the mishandling aspect. That I agree on the obstruction stuff, absolutely distinguishable.
I think part of the obstruction stuff might go towards the mishandling stuff, though. Like it seems to inform it. Yeah. Like if somebody tells you, hey, you have a document at your house that we know is missing and you need to bring it back. Just the fact that somebody alerted you, if you would ignore them past that, it seems to inform the underlying intent to keep that document in an unauthorized manner, versus if you didn't even know you had it.
No, but his additional intent to keep it there is sufficient for purposes of the mishandling.
What do you mean his additional? But we don't know if Biden had an intent to keep it there. There's no evidence thus far.
For Trump. The fact that Trump presumably had knowledge of it in the one instance, right, and put it in Mar-a-Lago, that initial intent to put it in an unauthorized area, I think would totally suffice. I mean, you don't need to have more than that, except for to prove your case.
But that distinguishes. But since intent,
you would need more than that. You need to show that he knowingly had it there, right?
What I'm saying is, you would not to make out a case. You agree with me on this. You would not need to show that Trump received a letter from NARA saying that you are withholding information with respect to
yes.
records.
At that point, I feel
like
like
they didn't even know it was classified. We're talking about mishandling classified information.
Sure. Here,
we're not necessarily talking about presidential records.
Sure. Can you tell me this? Okay. Do you think that it is materially different if one person is put on notice that they've got classified material and they fail to respond versus one person isn't put on notice? Do you think that changes the intent for them to knowingly take and store classified material?
Potentially it is.
Oh my God.
With respect to the subpoena. Why are you freaking out?
Because it's so obvious.
With respect to the subpoena, right, as far as I know, the inquiry with NARA initially did not pertain to classified materials. They're saying we're missing boxes of presidential records. When you're talking about the subpoena, it's merging into the obstruction-related thing that I'm trying to discount for purposes of our analysis.
If you're going to cut off everything related to the obstruction thing, when the obstruction thing seems to inform the intent
Why am I doing this? Why am I even engaged in this exercise of trying to distinguish? Why do you think? You think I'm crazy?
I think that you're trying to isolate these two things in a way that doesn't make sense to isolate these two things.
What's my greater purpose? Why am I doing this?
To maintain some level of purity in terms of being fair and analyzing underlying criminal conditions or something.
Well, yes, but because people were saying no one gives a shit about the mishandling. That's what people were saying.
Because I think that if I could be wrong, but I think that if the original case, I'm sorry, go ahead.
People like you were saying, I don't give a fuck about the mishandling. No one cares about it, and that's wrong. And that's why I'm trying to say that if it's true that all the right now, granted, there's probably more evidence based on public reporting that Trump fits the elements of the crime he's accused of. We don't have yet all the evidence that shows that Biden committed all those.
Here's a question. Let's say that it was the case that a month out of the White House, NARA or the FBI or whatever puts in a request to say, hey, you need to return these documents, and then Trump returns all the documents to the White House. Do you think that's in the news cycle for more than 12 hours?
No, that's
so the mishandling, but that would be the same mishandling of documents.
No. One would be presidential records, and the other would be if he.
No. Okay, let me back up. I don't know why you're doing the dumbest interpretation of this. Let me back up, and I'll make this more equal, even though you should understand what I'm saying. Let's say that NARA, or let's say the FBI says, "Hey, Trump, you've got classified records. Can you bring them back?" And let's say the next day they do it. Do you think this is a news story for more than 12 hours?
Honestly, I think they'd probably let it slide, in my opinion.
Because right? I don't think the mishandling part is what people cared about. It was Trump's refusal to cooperate.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
100%. Let me real quick from like the intelligence community side.
No. Hold on. We're talking about public opinion. We're talking about public opinion right now, right?
That's not true. That's just not true. People did care about the mishandling aspect.
Sure, they cared.
So let me give you another scenario. Let me give you another scenario. Suppose that Trump had gotten letters about presidential records related to like things that belong to the United States government, and he wasn't responding to that. He wasn't even responding to subpoenas related to like the stuff that just belongs to America. You think any of them would be talking about nuclear secrets? Anyone would be talking about putting people at risk, or would they be talking about petty theft and his obstruction of that investigation? The classified aspect was central. It was central to people cared about it with the Hillary Clinton thing. How can you say they didn't? They cared about it in both these instances.
Yeah, but why did they care about the Hillary Clinton? Why did they care about the Hillary Clinton thing? What was the number one phrase? Can anyone here guess it? What was the number one phrase associated with the Hillary Clinton email thing?
Benghazi.
No. Oh. It was 30,000 emails. It was find the emails. The reason why they cared about the Hillary thing was because of her deleting the emails. That's why everybody got so fucking mad, because it felt like she was hiding something.
First of all, it wasn't just that. There was entire...
Sorry, go ahead.
Why are you saying?
My bad. Because I don't think we're ever gonna agree on this, but that's okay. You just argue with these guys, but we're not. I don't think we're agreeing on any of this. Like in my mind, I see like the thing that made the headlines for the Trump stuff was the FBI raid, and the FBI raid happened because of the obstruction. That's where that came from, right? Yes. The thing that pissed people off about the Hillary Clinton shit was the fact that it seemed like she was obstructing. It seemed like she deleted the emails. It seemed like she hid them. That's why Trump was on the news, not saying shit like Hillary Clinton improperly. It was she deleted 30,000 emails. Find those emails and you'll be rewarded. That's what people freak out about because the obstruction. I think in people's minds, maybe not in an illegal sense, but I bet it does in an illegal sense even. But I think in people's minds, the obstruction part makes it seem like you did something wrong. I think that's what it pisses people off the most about it.
People were mad that she had a private email server that was hackable by and vulnerable to foreign adversaries and that kind of thing. If you don't think that's true, I just think we didn't read the same stuff when that era was
sure, but let's say that they went over that private email server, and they did, and let's say that it was more secure than government servers, which they were, or at least DNC servers. People didn't care about that. So it doesn't seem like they gave that much a fuck, unless you're like in the intelligence community. It doesn't seem like they really cared that much about it. There was no evidence or no proof of anything being hacked from that server.
Hang on, because it's a government server that did have, and it was found to have, even the stuff that wasn't. Recall, there were deleted emails, but even without respect to the deleted emails, there were classified material on the private server. The whole mid-year exam investigation, at the end of it, right, they were deciding whether to charge her for mishandling of classified information. The whole Comey decision about whether to charge or not to charge didn't have to do with obstruction, had to do with mishandling of classified information, right? They didn't have they didn't have solid proof that Hillary. I remember we had this whole Rob Noor discussion.
Hold on,
about whether
stop.
Or not,
No. There was definitely an obstruction angle. Because part of the investigation was to try to figure out if Hillary Clinton ordered that one guy to intentionally delete the emails, which would have been obstruction.
True. But at the end of the investigation, right? At the end of the investigation, the decision that they were having to make and what people were pissed about when they found out was that there was classified information and that was on a private server.
But what did Comey say? Comey said that it seemed like there was a ton.
Negligent, right?
Yes. Wait. Yes, it was grossly negligent. But do you think that if he would have found out that she had intentionally ordered that guy to wipe the servers, do you think that negligent charge would have changed? That negligent claim would have changed to intentionality? Do you think that her ordering the guy to delete stuff would have showed intent that she was knowingly keeping classified stuff in an unauthorized manner?
Yes.
Okay, then hold on. Yes. If you concede to that, how can you not say that the obstruction of the Trump case?
Hang on, don't go to the races. Yes, but also if they had found 2 or 3 emails that were marked the way that the documents are marked in Mar-a-Lago and the way the documents are marked in Biden's residence, I think that he would have also recommended a charge.
No, that's not true. Hold on, no, because they already conceded that classified material was being mishandled.
No, but it was Clinton's lack of. That's why you remember you accused me like a bunch of. It feels like an hour ago of doing this worthless comparison. That why even bring it up?
That recently, huh?
And it's so clear now because you have no fucking idea what the relevance was of what I was saying, which is it was Clinton's awareness or lack of awareness of the classified information that made all the difference in the FBI's, and you can read the FBI report, you can read the Inspector General's report.
I understand, but how do you go to showing the awareness? Part of it is probably the obstruction.
The fact that there are markings on the that are visible and that no one can doubt.
No, it was the obstruction part. That's what they were looking for.
They were looking for a bunch of stuff. They were looking for obstruction-related offenses.
Hold on. Do you think that Comey, you know that Comey knows that Hillary Clinton knows that there was classified information on that server? Yes?
No.
Okay.
Now she does.
You don't.
Now she does.
Okay, I have to go back and read Comey's shit.
No,
okay, go ahead. I didn't know that. I'm
going to spoil it for you. You're going to read the reports. I'm going to spoil it for you. So spoilers, anyone who hasn't read the reports and is still holding out, it's like Game of Thrones, you haven't watched it, Red Wedding stuff. If you read the rationale behind the declination decision, the rationale is we don't have enough proof that shows that Clinton knew and was aware at the time that there was classified information on those servers. That's the rationale. And the argument is, if we had proof that she knew at the time that she had that classified information on the servers, we would have charged her. That's what they were missing. All they had was these 3 C's, these 3 little C's embedded in emails. And Comey says, I think it's equivocal. I think that should get you an insight into what's important here for proving evidence-wise.
Am I misremembering, or wasn't one of the major things that the majority of anything classified was more just in aggregate and later classified? So there was data in there, but it was later classified. So technically,
no,
it was...
there was back classified stuff, and there was stuff at the time that was classified. And yeah, that is true. There were things that were quote unquote back whatever.
Yeah, just they became classified at a later date, but they were in their unclassified.
There were things that were contemporaneously classified, and that's the material that people are referencing when they're talking about Hillary Clinton stuff. And they're mad at that rationale. They're mad that Comey did not charge Hillary Clinton for mishandling classified information. And so I'll put this way.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, though, if she would have tried to obstruct that, if they would have found that she had ordered that information deleted, then that probably would have gone towards the intentionality of sending classified information, right?
Oh, well, yeah, of course. If you have an email,
yeah, but that's why I don't like to separate.
Hang on. If you have an email that says delete the classified information, that is both intent to obstruct.
Yeah, and if you've got Donald Trump saying don't give them back the classified documents, that's why it's hard to separate the obstruction from the removal of classified materials. That's why I don't know why we're separating those two.
I think the case against Trump is super strong with respect to the classified stuff.
Yeah, and the case with Biden, we don't have the evidence to say that it is yet. It doesn't seem like it.
I agree with all that. Wait. I agree, right, that the investigation has matured longer with Trump, and Trump has done stupid things.
You keep saying no. Even if we rewind it, the way that these investigations started are different, and they're different in meaningful ways that seems to indicate intent. Seems to. It might not, but it seems to. A guy self-reporting saying, hey, shit, we were cleaning out a closet and we found some classified shit, we're letting you know, is way different than, hey, this is subpoena, we know you've got classified shit and you need to bring it back. Those two things are meaningfully different. Even if we rewind the clock, the beginning of these investigations was different at the very start.
That's true. It is true that it's meaningfully different how the investigation started between Biden and Trump. And I've agreed for the purposes of everything that it seems, based on public reporting, we have more evidence of Trump's intent. But it doesn't mean that we're not going to find evidence of Joe Biden's intent. And
no one disagrees.
We should.
Nobody.
We should withhold judgment about, I think more importantly, whether one was worse or one was better until the investigations are concluded. How can you have a problem with that take?
I have no problem with that take, but I'm not going to pretend that they're the same now just because Biden's isn't finished. If somebody were to accuse somebody of murder and there's a videotape of them doing it, and somebody were to accuse me of murder because they're mad about it online, and somehow both of these spark a criminal investigation or a trial, I'm not going to sit here at the start and it's like, could be a case on either one. Where I've got video footage of one guy killing one guy, and in another there's like no fucking public evidence presented at all. I'm going to say like, it seems like this is leaning a lot harder in this direction than the other.
Pisco, let me ask you this, kind of a more direct question then. Set your legal training aside, and just as again somebody who has political biases and political ideology, given that the right, you know this, and they have a vested interest in creating a false equivalence, or actually, if wherever possible, suggesting that what Biden did was worse, how do you want people on social media affiliated with Democrats or the left, people like Destiny, people like me, whoever, how do you want people to respond in the face of that? What would you like?
I want them to say, whoa, it looks like Biden might have mishandled classified information too. And
oh, Jesus, kill me. I want to die.
Wait, in the context of everything, when you say mishandled
wait, can I ask why you're laughing,
too,
Stephen?
Because they're already like materially different right at the outset. Not like, whoa, he did that same thing too. Like, no.
You just don't give a shit. Wait, so I just want to have you for the record, so everyone knows, you don't give a fuck about mishandling no matter what. No matter what could be there, you just don't give a shit, and you don't think the American people give a shit about mishandling.
I don't think the legal statute gives a shit. That is correct. I need to see intention. That's part of the statute.
Okay, but the investigation's not over, and you just laughed at me by saying hey, Biden. You think it's ridiculous? Let's be clear. Let me finish this thing. Don't interrupt me, you motherfucker.
Okay.
I love you guys, by the way.
Likewise, buddy.
So just to be clear, right?
Yeah.
If Biden did everything with respect to mishandling classified information, right? He would have done something bad. And right now, the evidence that we have is there was top secret documents in his fucking garage, Stephen. I know that people are different and that, like, it's the vice president. There could be a lot of people in his fucking garage or whatever. But the fact that something's like in your home next to your car, isn't that like at least decent evidence that he might know about it or might have known about it? Come on.
No, it was mixed in with a bunch of other shit. If it was like a folder with a bunch of shit in it and like one of the or two of the documents,
that's used against Trump. How could that's used against Trump?
No, that's not. I don't know. Okay, I'm ejecting. I'm ejecting from this conversation.
No, you can't eject.
I'm ejecting. You can't possibly say that these two things are the same. Like. That somebody having some full files mixed in with other shit in their fucking house that they haven't been notified of, that their own lawyers stumbled across and reported, that that's being the same as Trump. Oh, well, he's got a lot of stuff in Mar-a-Lago. These documents were in boxes that were under lock and key.
Stop adding stuff. I'm
just looking at the facts.
Stop adding facts, Stephen.
Oh, hey, hang on. No, you're adding stuff to try to bake in the obstruction aspects to it. Just look at we're only focusing on mishandling. There were documents, yes or no, in Trump's drawers.
There might have been, but I don't think that's what.
In his desk. It wasn't just that area.
But hold on, that's not what people were. That might have been what they found afterwards. But the initial thing had to do with the boxes that were under lock and key in his fucking storage room.
I don't understand why you're limiting yourself in that respect to just the initial room. They found additional documents elsewhere in his residence that weren't in the locked area.
Okay.
And so it's used against Trump. The fact that they're intermingled documents.
Well, hold on. Okay, hold on. So when it comes to how they're going to treat this, how the legal system is going to treat this when it comes to like classified information policy, if you are doing something negligent versus you're doing something like with some sort of criminality behind it, you're going to be treated completely differently. So those things are going to be used against him, but it's you did this really wrong thing on top of this fuck up. That is going to actually
intentionality here. I mean, it's clear from the statute and from the kind of legal opinions interpreting, at the very least, the statute which refers to gross negligence, that there's some level of intent required above just mere negligence, and so Biden will have to be shown probably in order for there to be a charging decision to have been aware of the document's existence there. He will have to have there will have to be a showing that Biden has such recklessness with these documents that it amounts to constructive knowledge of the document's existence. That we're both in agreement. Both Destiny and I are in agreement about that. But I don't understand. Like, just hold your horses. It right now, currently, yeah, I agree. There's more public information about the Trump-related stuff, and I think it's a pretty strong case against Trump because he's all but admitting that he was aware of the document's existence.
Then why would we say that both seem on their face to be the same?
If the accusations are true, right? If Biden was aware of the document's existence, you will grant me this. I think you must grant me this. If Biden was aware that there were classified information in his garage. As between Trump and Biden on the mishandling aspect, at this point, can you meaningfully distinguish if we know that Biden is aware?
At this point, can we distinguish? No.
Okay.
Yeah, Destiny. But if you take away, no, hang on, Destiny.
If you take away everything,
I understand where Pisco's coming from now. If you take away the things we know to be different, they're basically the same.
But the nature of the thing that's being investigated.
Admit it. Hang on. I want Steven to concede that. Concede that, buddy. Please concede it.
Ruminate.
I do concede.
The nature of the thing, right? The nature of the accusation that both have classified information in their private residences. Yes, there's more information about Trump's potential intent, but we might get more information about Biden's. And so if people who are saying it is so obvious how different it is just because of the what you're aware of now with respect to investigations, you're jumping the shark.
We're not. Well, no. All we're saying is that right now it looks like one was an accident. The other one looks hella intentional.
Yeah, so just a couple of things. Number one, I think you know this, Pisco. Obviously, everyone here, if additional facts come out that, indicate greater intentionality on Biden's part than what we currently know, we would revise our position on that, right? We would make that concession.
I don't think you would.
Say what?
What?
I don't think I don't think Ruminate would.
So if it came out...
Wait a minute.
If it came out that Biden literally was like, I am going to take this shit home because I'm above the fucking law. There's like a log of him saying that. You think Ruminate would be like, you know what? Biden is above the fucking law. Hell yeah.
I didn't know the nature of the evidence is going to be like that. So if it were as stark as that, I think Ruminate would. But like if there's some memo that Biden said, hey, take these top secret documents to my residence, Ruminate, are you going to say that they're very similar in terms of the mishandling, or would you still say they're not similar?
Yes. If there was intentionality involved, or evidence, like actual evidence of intentionality, that Biden deliberately ordered that these documents be placed where they were whatnot, yeah, of course, then I would say that they because even copying to that, here's the great thing, even copying to that, there would still need to be additional facts in evidence to make these situations comparable. Like even if they had similar intent.
What if they were up-classified?
Oh, there we go.
Well, wait. What if they were up-classified? What if he was authorized to have those at the time of being vice president of his house, but he wasn't allowed to have them after he left office? I mean, like, I don't know. I don't know the nature of these classified materials. I don't even know what the classified materials were. It might not even be a big fucking deal. Who the fuck knows what the documents are?
Hang on. What I really want to nip this in the bud, because I think Pisco's implying that my Democratic bias, me being a shill for Democrats, means that I would not fall on that sword. I'm saying even if you believe that's true, Pisco, it's not a silver bullet to me, because even if we have proof that Biden had intentionality to possess these classified documents, the fact that he gave them up to the National Archives unprompted and triggered the DOJ warning and all that still is materially different in the total situation, the analysis, where I can still have my cake and eat it too. I can say, you know what? Biden did intend to have these documents, so in that respect, he and Trump are comparable, but overall, Biden is still better than Trump. So even if my bias were at play, it still works to my benefit. So you shouldn't have any reason to believe that if there's additional proof that comes out that Biden intentionally possessed these documents and kept them, of course I'll cop to that, even with my bias at play.
Do you care about the mishandling? I mean, do you fundamentally care about the mishandling aspect of it? Do you think that is a...
Oh, I do. I mean, listen, I think the fact that we don't have evidence of Biden's intentionality makes me a bit more comfortable, and the fact that Biden doesn't have the same sort of reputation for recklessness and corruption that Trump does. But no, I completely agree. He should not have had those documents. He should not have had them. They should not have been there, and it is a problem, of course. I do recognize that it's an issue.
Okay. I mean, I think that what distinguishes our opinions are that, like, I think that if the documents are found in your house, just like if the documents were on Hillary Clinton's server, right? My default position is going to be like, okay, that seems pretty bad, right? That's it. And that's kind of where I'm at. And I'm not going to make a strong statement distinguishing before I even know, like, the most important things that you're going to be able to distinguish, which is the motive of why they're there. We have no idea why Trump had him there. We have no idea why Biden had him there. And basically what's in those documents. We don't know what's in those documents, which one's better, which one's worse. And to say that at this moment we know which of those conducts is worse.
So no, I think like Pisco, let me throw you a bone here. Let me offer an olive branch, because I do, given your background, given your legal training, because I can't imagine you can shut this off. I have to imagine this is like forever altered your paradigm. If I were an attorney, I would be I would be infinitely more precise with my language, and I'm sure Stephen would too, in terms of how to do this. Like, I completely agree, and I can't imagine that. I have to imagine that is what's influencing your thought processes here. But I don't think that Stephen or I or anyone else are obligated to ignore the facts as we understand them now simply because the investigations have not concluded. And I think that's what you're asking us to do.
This is what a fair opinion would be. Well, there's more evidence right now of Trump's intent, but right now, it's the same thing they're being accused of. It's the same thing they're being accused of. And we don't...
Trump is being accused of obstruction.
Oh, my God.
All right, Pisco.
Do I have to put a disclaimer in every time we're talking about this or not?
I'm sorry, because you think that people just care about the mishandling of classified documents.
Did I say that they just care? Wait, did I ever say that they just cared about this?
Seems to be what you're implying.
Aspect? Did I ever imply that? Did I not say that the obstruction is a huge component to it, and that people?
If the obstruction is a huge component to it, then you can't act like both cases are similar.
Okay, you're unable to separate them. You're unable to.
No, I can't. I think it feeds into the intent of the former.
No, but I think to Stephen's point, it says something that you are expecting so much precision in language of us, like to give a fair opinion, that to say, okay, right now the facts as they are on 9:09 p.m. on January 18th, 2023, that there's more evidence of intentionality on Trump's part, but blah blah blah, the investigations have not proceeded. I think it says something that you want that level of precision from us, or you expect it from us. But I think Stephen correctly pointing out that when you gave the example of what a fair opinion's like, you are separating the mishandling from the obstruction, even though they are helixed in matters of public perception and in the situation as a whole. I don't think that's fair.
In matters of public and criminal perception.
Yeah.
Certain conduct might be relevant to both mishandling and obstruction. No doubt. There's a factual nucleus that could be used for both, right? The fact that if Trump gave an order to destroy classified information,
then it probably shows intent to maintain it.
That factual nucleus would be relevant both to an obstruction-related charge, and that fact would also be relevant because of his implicit awareness of the documents there for a mishandling thing.
Right.
But just because of that, I think that we should be smart enough not to just toss to the side the concerns of the similarity in the mishandling aspect of it. And I think that if on the face of it, yes, the kind of evidence that we have that speaks to Trump's intent is available to us more so than Biden's, but the kind of evidence that would speak to Biden's intent, that's all stuff from like 2016 and 2015. We don't know about that stuff yet. And you're making a big rod for your own back if it comes out that stuff's worse. Now, I truly think that Trump's misconduct with respect to the mishandling of information is probably much, much worse than Biden's.
Do you have an opinion on making a statement on whether or not it seems like the Andrew Tate stuff looks pretty bad or not? Or would you say we have absolutely nothing? We haven't seen the trial. We can't make any statement about that either.
I think that you should. I think that the correct opinion would be like, this looks really bad, right? But and this is the evidence that exists right now. But I don't know. We haven't had the exculpatory evidence, right?
Sure,
which
but
is
when
true.
I say that, yeah, I agree with you. But when I say like, oh, this seems like the same as any other trafficking case.
The same as any. I don't know what the default trafficking case is.
I don't know, one where they break into a brothel. They see.
But hang on. That's a perfect example. I think that proves the point. Okay. If two people, right, are both accused of murder, both accused of murder, right, and we have or trafficking in this case, and we happen to have more evidence right now. They're also committed, in addition to the trafficking, some other like huge financial fraud or something that is integrated factually, but the elements of the crime aren't the same thing. Just because the evidence is out and available for one, doesn't mean that the other person who we're finding out about now, that their conduct was necessarily better or worse. And I know you're not saying that, but I think we should be careful with our statements.
Sure, but me being careful would mean me being very careful not to ever say that it seems the same as like Andrew Tate versus any other person.
It seems similar. You're not even going to say it seems similar?
No.
They're being accused of the same conduct. Yes, okay. At the very least, Stephen, I'm granting you this, and I agree with this. There is more evidence of intent with respect to Trump than there is of Biden.
Would you say that? Would you say that cases? Would you say that cases involving an affirmative defense are the same? So one guy gets accused of murdering somebody because he shot and killed somebody during a robbery in a store, and another guy gets accused is claiming self-defense. Would you say that, like, oh, well, on the face is the exact same thing? They're both being charged with murder.
No, but if both people were claiming, let's say this, right? Both people are claiming self-defense for a robbery in a convenience store. And there's a video of one person's self-defense that shows it's like, that shows that clearly it's not a good defense or that it's less likely to be a good defense, or like whatever. It's bad evidence that you were in reasonable fear of your life. And the evidence hasn't come out for someone else, right? They're both using similar defenses. It is true that I think that you could compare the quantum of evidence between the two. But until investigations are complete, I think you would say the same thing about the Rittenhouse case, where information was, early information might not have revealed everything, or the George Floyd case, where early information might not have revealed everything.
No, I think I would make way different statements given way more evidence available at the time before.
Even in the Rittenhouse case, you were saying, now my opinion might change if more things come out of this, right?
Yeah. But on its face, it looks like self-defense. Yeah, but that doesn't mean I'm going to say, oh, it seems like any other murder case, LOL.
No, but on their face, right, the Trump case looks like mishandling of classified information unless you buy into his declassification.
Okay. Or just we're looping hard. Okay. But I don't agree. But
Pisco, are we being billed for this? Just FYI.
Yeah, you are, motherfuckers.
Fuck. I feel like I can't afford you.
You're not even willing to say it's similar.
It's not. It's absolutely not. People mishandle shit. People are dumb. Like, shit happens. Like, I mean, Trump had fucking nuclear secrets locked in a basement that he ignored, like, requests to get. Like, it just on its face. It just, even the way these started, like, just seems so wildly different to me. But memers gonna meme.